All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those that are joining us for the webinar this evening. Thank you to those who are joining us via the recording later in time. I want to welcome everyone to our July quarterly update. I'm Chris Wiseman. I'm the CEO for Habitat for Humanity of Chester County. And this evening's presentation is From Blueprint to Budget, How We Steward Your Gifts. So we'll be looking at the journey of a home, how we build with integrity, and the incredible impact your contributions have on our community. A couple of notes before we get started. There is a Q&A button on your screen. So at any time, please feel free to drop a question in there. And at the end, I'll do my best to address all of them. This presentation, as I mentioned, is being recorded and will be available on our website in the next week or two. So let's jump right in. Our mission is truly put into action every day. And I could not be more excited about the growth and that we've seen over the years and the growth that is still coming. In 2020, Habitat for Humanity of Chester County built 3 homes. Today, we have 3 different 40 plus home communities under development. Yeah, with more than 100 homes getting ready to be built and more opportunities that are being explored. This incredible growth truly reflects the impact we're making together. So to start to understand how a donation turns into a home, let's talk about that and how land is acquired. That's really where all this journey begins. And this crucial first step involves, the land acquisition, finding suitable sites for development, and this really isn't as simple as just buying a plot of land. It's a multifaceted process that begins long before any ground is actually broken. We identify potential land through a variety of channels. This includes valuable connections with home and commercial real estate agents who serve on our board. We also work closely with municipalities across the county and community leaders who can help identify suitable parcels for development. Additionally, we have collaborations with other nonprofits who can lead us to opportunities for land acquisition and sometimes partner directly with us on some of those opportunities. Once a potential property is identified, that's just the first step. Then we immediately begin a thorough due diligence process. This involves extensive research and investigation to ensure that the land is suitable for building and that there's no hidden issues that could jeopardize the project or the future homeowners. Due diligence includes, but certainly is not limited to, reviewing zoning laws and local ordinances so that we can ensure that the property can be used for residential construction. We conduct environmental assessments to check for contamination or ecological concerns. And then we perform title searches with our title groups and the people that volunteer in that area to search to make sure that the ownership and identify, make sure there aren't any liens or any other issues that would cause it from coming from the seller to the buyer, which is us. And then we evaluate the availability and capacity of utilities like the water, sewer, and electricity. So it's a very in-depth process that can take quite a bit of time depending on how delicate, how complicated that situation is. So anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on how much due diligence work we have to do. Following that, we move into the rigorous process of planning and permits. This phase involves the submitting detailed architectural plans to the local authorities, going through various reviews and approvals, and securing all the necessary building permits. It's a complex and often lengthy process, but it's essential to ensure our homes meet all the safety and structural codes. We also look for opportunities for rehabilitations of existing properties, which is also require its own unique diligence and the permitting process for construction before that process can begin as well. So once the initial stages are complete, construction begins. This is where the magic truly starts to happen. All right, so thanks to the incredible dedication of our volunteers, the expertise of our contractors, and working closely with our families throughout the process, and carefully selecting the right materials, and focusing on quality, sustainability, then we actually start to see houses start to rise. And throughout this entire process, we have an unwavering commitment to building with integrity. This is what makes Habitat for Humanity, and especially Chester County, unique, special, on brand all the time. And this begins with the meticulous budget development process for each and every home. Before a single nail is hammered, we create a detailed financial plan that accounts for all aspects of construction, ensuring we have transparency and fiscal responsibility for every single thing that we do building that home. And we also prioritize partnering with reputable contractors and suppliers. This is absolutely important to us. They're not just vendors, right, to us. They are partners who share our commitment to quality, efficiency, and ethical practices. We thoroughly vet all of our partners to ensure they meet our same high standards for craftsmanship and are responsible business operators and owners and part of the community that we serve. And another cornerstone of our integrity is recognizing and leveraging, of course, the volunteers that we have. The incredible dedication of our volunteers allows us to significantly reduce labor costs. And that directly translates into more homes built and more families served. We track and quantify the immense value of our volunteers that contribute. So we can share outward, this is the number of hours of volunteers work. This is the value of those hours, an offset of labor hours that it would cost, which again is a testament to the power of the community involvement that we have. And then finally, we maintain a rigorous oversight and cost containment strategy. And to be clear, this is not about cutting corners. It's about smart resource management, right? It's continuously monitoring the project expenditures, seeking out efficiencies, and negotiating favorable terms with our suppliers, and even seeking out donations and donated product from those groups. That way we can ensure, every dollar donated is maximized for its impact. And so think about this holistic approach to integrity ensures that all the gifts donated are stewarded responsibly and effectively, and it really leads to high quality, affordable homes for the families in need. That is what makes Habitat special. It is that lineup of all of those things at once, making sure that every house built has the transparency, the integrity, the partnerships all built into every one of those homes. That way, every dollar that comes into Habitat and every donor that's a part of the journey with us can be rest assured that it's being done as effectively and as transparent as is possible. So, what comes next? The best part, right? The journey of building a home culminates in the two best parts, right? The significant milestones of completion and home dedication. So completion signifies the physical readiness of the house, but the home dedication is truly the heart of our mission. This is a profoundly special time, not just for the family, but for the entire community. The home dedication, which we just had one, is a joyful celebration where we formally recognize and welcome the family into their new home and community. It's a moment where all the hard work of our volunteers and staff and the incredible generosity of our donors really comes to fruition. Oh, and for the families, it's more than that receiving of the keys. It's the realization of a dream. It's the beginning of a new chapter built on stability and hope. It's a moment of profound pride, emotional significance. It's really marking their transition to home ownership. And for us, it's a powerful reminder of the tangible impact of our collective efforts, and the lives that we're transforming. It reinforces the why behind everything we do, and it inspires us to continue to build homes, communities, and hope. The one that we just had, and I'll share a little bit more about Alicia's story in a minute, But to be able to be a part of that journey, I will share personally that I met Alicia at the very beginning of the process when she had just submitted an application. And this particular home dedication, to be able to see someone go from the very initial steps of having the courage to put in an application and go through that process, to do the sweat equity, all the way to being able to hand her the keys myself and be a part of blessing the house at the end and her welcoming us into her house, even during the rain, to keep us all dry, and that part of the ceremony, and hearing from her directly the impact that it was making in our lives was extremely powerful. So all of that, we continue to make sure that our commitment to integrity extends not just in the construction, but throughout the entire operation. And this is demonstrated through our transparency, our stewardship, and active board engagement. And all this works together to build trust with our community and our donors. To maintain this trust, we ensure we operate, financially responsibly. We have robust systems in place, and these include annual audits from an outside group. We currently work with a group called CBIZ. This will be the second year of doing this outside audit. They are completely independent, and those audits are public to be seen every year. And we publicize those on our website, and they're available for anyone to see. And we put those out to anyone who donates to us from a foundation perspective, and all other ways for people to be able to see those and hold on to those and see that we're operating at a very high, clean, clear level. We provide this, and that gives us like that independent verification, like I said. And then we have these tight board financial oversight. Our board has a finance committee, we have an executive committee, and then the entire board looks at different levels to make sure that the financials on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis is following every bit of the guidelines that's been established to make sure that everything is as it should be. And then we've established multiple layers, even just internally with our administrative reporting. And then we have multiple systems in place so that we have really a meticulous way of monitoring how donations are tracked, and just that there's an accountability for every dollar that comes through. So from the internal structure to the outline of support and oversight from our board to the outside groups that are watching us, it is extremely important that there's no gap between a donor and what's happening inside the organization, if there's any doubt of the transparency and integrity of how we operate at Habitat. And then there's really, the responsible use of those funds. Just because we have all the systems in place, we want to make sure that, that we use those funds responsibly, and how we use them is really paramount. The generosity from donors comes from various sources. We have money that comes from grants and foundations, from corporate donors, from individual donors, special events, and the annual appeal, which is also a lot of individual donors in a specific time of the year. But regardless of the source, we're committed to ensuring that a very large percentage of these funds go directly towards creating home ownership opportunities. That's our mission. That's our dedication, to make sure as little as possible goes to any overhead or admin costs or anything related to the volunteer services or fundraising specifically. So we're really, really focused in on that. And compared to most other nonprofits in the area and even nationally, we are ahead of that curve. We do way better than most. And we continue as we grow and expand the operations and even bring in more staff to be able to continue to, with that growth, still maintain that low level of overhead and put most of our focus in the home build and home repair side of the organization. We're very, very proud of that. So what does that look like in the way that we steward our money? So what's amazing about the dollars and cents that are donated to Habitat is the impact multiplier of our donations. So when money comes in, it goes back out into the community. The homes we've built have right now put another $500,000 back into the local economy annually. So every year, Habitat for Humanity and the homes we've built are putting $500,000 every single year right back into the local economy. And since our inception, since we started, we've brought an incredible $13 million back to local taxing agencies. And that's generated with that, and then the effect of the outward effect of all of the businesses and the economy growth, we've generated another 120 million in economic activity since we started. That's a lot of numbers, and it's kind of a big concept. The number that I like, and we've tried to break this all down with different groups, and it really is this. If you want to shrink it down to one number that really shows the impact of all those dollars, for every $1 donated, $10 goes back into the economy. So the investment in Habitat, as much as it is for that family that we serve and the community that we're changing with home ownership, it is also an investment back into the entire community. A Habitat home is powerful. It's powerful for the families' lives that it's changed. It's powerful for the community that is uplifting and changing. And it's powerful for Chester County because we're in that space where what we were calling after the shutdown and issues with COVID, the essential workers, that's a lot of who we serve. There are teachers and firefighters and folks who are just on that margin that would not ever be able to buy a home to get a mortgage in how expensive it is to live and try to work in Chester County. And any municipality that has an economic development plan dedicated to growth has to have an answer for affordable housing. And those that partner with us are seeing this level of growth in that area. It's an essential part of what Chester County does as we continue to grow and expand. And Habitat is really starting to fill that need. So let me share a couple of real stories. So this is Alicia, who I talked about a few minutes ago. And this is Alicia and her two boys, Azir and Jaden. And I'm going to share some of Alicia's words exactly because she shared this with us. But this is some of what she said. So owning a home is so much more than just a property. It's a sanctuary where her boys can feel safe, secure, and cherished. It's a place for them to grow, to learn, and to build lifelong memories. She told us that this home represents the fulfillment of a dream, and she has carried in her heart for so long. A place where they can lay down roots, develop a sense of community, and truly feel they have a place to call their own. Alicia says the impact of your support extends far beyond bricks and mortar. It's about building a foundation of love, security, and endless possibilities for her family. Probably couldn't say that any better than Alicia said. And having gotten to know her and our staff getting to know her, we've built a friendship and a relationship that is important for her level of success going forward. She knows that she has friends at Habitat and that she has folks that will be in her corner. During this process, she was a Vista All-Star, which is an online newspaper that comes throughout Chester County, and they pick individuals who are really outstanding in their career and doing really wonderful things. And Alicia was one of those folks who was working in her career and doing really wonderful things, which is not a surprise if you get to meet Alicia. And this opportunity and now moving to her house has just opened up this world of possibility. And to see the level of support at her home dedication that she has with her family and the community in general to come there, I know she's going to be nothing but just successful, and her boys are going to see that next step in the generational wealth building that would not have been possible had it not been for this Habitat home. And let me just share one more story. So this is the Torres family, Richard and Angela, and their two young daughters, Ariana and Selena. And back in 2020, their journey took a hopeful turn. And I won't go into some of the details before that, but it was a struggle. It was very difficult. And Richard shared that before Habitat, they felt stuck. They were living in a rental that was at the very edge of their budget with a landlord who, would just say, neglected necessary repairs. And they searched tirelessly for a stable home, suitable options under 2,000 for a family of four were just nearly impossible to find. And that has not changed, by the way, to this day. And Habitat's program brought them immense joy and relief, offering the hope they desperately sought. Richard heard about us from a friend whose family had found pride and stability through Habitat years ago. And he knew he wanted that for Angela and the girls. Participating in our educational classes equipped them with essential knowledge they needed from financial planning and learned home maintenance side by side with our staff and volunteers. Despite some challenges with his back, Richard was eager to complete his sweat equity hours. As he said, seeing it as a chance to learn skills and, most importantly, set an example of perseverance for Ariana and Selena. For the Torres family, this home is more than just four walls. It's a stepping stone to building generational wealth and a place where dreams can be nurtured, memories created, and peace found. They are filled with gratitude and optimism, ready to build a brighter future in a place they truly call home. So, how do we ask donors to be a part of things? How can you stay engaged? How are donors staying engaged with our mission? We have monthly giving programs. We've had folks to come out and be a part of volunteer opportunities, community and corporate sponsorships, and just come out and visit a work site or the Restore or any other opportunities that we have in the community with special events and see the work firsthand, see the impact that we're having. So, short, sweet, to the point. Happy to answer any questions that have come through the Q&A. Happy to answer any questions along the way afterwards. My information is on the screen. Happy to have any emails with further discussions about anything we've discussed about tonight. But please, if there, again, is any questions that anybody wants to share, please put them through and I'll be happy to do so. We did have a few questions that were posted earlier before the webinar and have gotten one or two, I think, that may have come through in various ways. I am going to stop sharing my screen so that we can have a full version. Hi, everyone. So one of the questions was, what happens if you, what are the criteria for turning down land? Which I thought was a really interesting question. We talked about the things that we do, but what are the criteria for not accepting or not turning down land? What are sort of the key points of consideration? And obviously, if there are things that, as we go through the due diligence, that preclude it from being affordable for us to do so, if the infrastructure cost looks like they're going to be super high, or just how to build on that property is going to be very difficult, or the permitting and the process like that to get changed into what we need it to be able to do for that area is difficult. That's an issue, right? And we may decide that that's not feasible for us to be able to move forward. Price is a factor, right? We look at the total cost of what that's going to cost for the land versus the number of homes we can build on that property. So that means, we would be willing to pay more, invest more into a property if we can build more homes on it. Because the more homes we have, that lessens the per home cost. And that's an important factor of how we steward money. So we look to not spend over a certain amount per home as we try to advocate, for what we think is the max amount that we're willing to spend on a particular home. And that's really important, I think, as we talk to donors and other folks to be able to say, all in, staff costs, soft costs, infrastructure, land costs, our house costs this. Now, one really important part of that consideration is who we also partner with. So we get funding not only from individuals and foundations, we talked about that, but we also get government funding. So that can be a consideration where it might not be feasible for other groups to consider a property. It might be considerable, might make a consideration for that property because of a partnership with different groups. So if we know we're going to have certain kinds of funding that may make that particular property more accessible for us, we might look at that more often. One of the things we have to consider in Chester County is the availability of land. It is a huge factor for any kind of developer, for profit or not profit. And that has what has opened up the door for us to look at different kinds of property and try to think a little bit differently on where and how we can build. And as far as the landscape of where we'll build, For those that know our Cambria community, we will literally build on a hillside. There is not a space that we are afraid of looking at to consider to build on. It's just, can we make all of those dollars and cents work? And so sometimes that will be the reason that will turn down a property. What other questions have come through, or do we have? Asking specifically about the 40 plus projects. So one of those we are more than halfway through right now, which you folks will know that have been a part of this, is the West Grove project, the Fuller Meadows project. We just completed and went to settlement on phase 5, and we're well under roof and underway on phase 6. We're looking at the details. This is an 8-phase community. Each phase is a set of 5 townhomes connected together. We are looking to break ground on phase 7. This is the one thing I have learned in now my 5 years here, is to never give a date or a timeline for when we're actually going to be done, because some things are out of our control and timelines change. But these last 2 for that particular project, and it's a beautiful project. It's amazing the partnership we have with the borough of West Grove and how we've been able to manage this. And we started off just building 1 phase at a time, and then we kind of expanded our opportunity with the partnership we have with WSFS, who's our bank, to be able to kind of overlap, build one and then the other. The last 2 phases that we're building there will be a little bit different than the other phases that we've built, because these will be 3 stories standing directly from the base, where the other ones have been kind of built into the side or starting from a little bit lower level. And there's a little bit of environmental work we need to do on those. So that might slow that start down a bit, but they're coming. So that pieces are going. The other one is under development right now. We have infrastructure money ready to go. It's just working through the permitting side. We're calling it, we're very creative, the Foundry Street project. It is on, you guessed it, Foundry Street in Callan Township, just outside of Coatesville. For those kind of understand that area, it's sort of near the high school. It has 2 components to it. One is a flat space that's right off of Foundry Street. The property that we bought actually lies on a hillside that goes from there all the way up, which is sort of below the hospital that's up there, the VA hospital. And we won't build on the hillside, but there's an opportunity to build on the top portion of that. So the bottom portion will have 7 homes, and then the top portion will have about 30 to 35 homes. So in that 40 to 40 plus area as well. And then what is, I will go ahead and put out for public consumption. I think it's certain enough, which is very, very exciting. And I'll ask you all to keep this secret just between you and I in this group. But again, I think it's fair enough to share. We are looking to build with a partnership with a for-profit builder, and we have everything aligned up to be able to do so. Here it is, and I'm wondering if I'm getting myself in trouble, but you know what? I guess I am the boss, so maybe I can share this. A 40-unit residential building in downtown Phoenixville. I'll give a lot more detail. That will certainly be the entire webinar on another call. But we're getting the final ducks in a row to be able to share more information about that. But that is the initial plan right now. That's 3. There are 3 others that are under, let's say, pre-development, that are being discussed with other groups and other properties that we're looking at. So that number could easily double, and that 100 plus that are in the queue to be built right now could double as well. Where we are as an affiliate is, I think each year we've sort of grown exponentially. And I keep telling my board, not every year is going to be our biggest year, but it needs to be. There's no pats on the back. There's no resting. The struggle that we have in Chester County and nationally is there's just, we're being outpaced for the need for affordable housing. And it's happening particularly in Chester County. I mean, the median home price right now is well over $500,000. And there's just a super small percentage of the homes being built at an affordable level. And even those above the 80 percentile, we sort of focus in on the 80% and below, but even the 80 to 120 of the AMI can't find homes right now. So there's just that we can't rest on our laurels. We have to find a way to double, triple, and continue to tackle this problem in a unique way. And not only are we building differently, looking at, the kind of tower buildings and condos and all different types of builds, but funding it differently and looking at things like that as well. So there, I answered it. This is recorded too, so man, I can't take it back now. Also about advocacy efforts underway and eliminating those obstacles. It's a great question as well because we have actually the importance of advocacy in the affiliate has become so important that we actually voted this year to change our charter, to change our I forget exactly what the word is, but within our guidelines of how our affiliate operates, and we've added as a part of the board an advocacy committee. So where we have standing committees of the board that have to be reported on and be a part of it, like the finance committee and the construction committee, we now have an advocacy committee that operates at that same level. And we have some dynamic board members and others who are directly a part of that. And what that also has done from a state level has connected us with a bunch of other affiliates who are working at that level, which has given us more and more resources to really focus in on the local level and be able to work directly kind of with marketing to think about messaging, especially for those townships and municipalities that we know we're going into, that we have to be able to have relationships with. It's important what's happening in Washington, and it's important what's happening in Harrisburg because we're a Commonwealth and the power of those decisions lie directly with the municipalities, which there's 72 of in Chester County. We need to be talking to them directly and building those relationships long before we have to get in and fight NIMBYism and other issues like that. So we're doing the work, right? We are doing that work now to get in to do that and really thinking about all those different levels. Great question. Um, environmental phase 1, phase 2, pre-miscontamination. I mean, so unhealthy. So I will say that we have a new partner, which was an older relationship that I had when I used to work at the YMCA, who does a lot of this, who works directly with environmental cleanup and doing different things like that. It is not an area that we have probably focused on that much because we haven't really been kind of drug into that space for the projects we've been doing. But thinking about an environmental phase 1 and a phase 2 where we need to for those areas, I will say there's even one of these properties that we're looking at, one possibility, which is a great space that would come from a parking lot, a rather large parking lot, which is permeable or impermeable, that we could take to a permeable space and create homes. When it was built, very different consequences for building a parking lot. I think there was arsenic and other things that they would just kind of shove to one side, buried down as they do, and build a parking lot. That would be a perfect example of how we would have to bring those kind of resources to bear to be able to look at that because the parking lot's not being used. It's a just an open space, pretty significant open space where we could build homes on and part with another nonprofit to be able to do that. So Elaine, who's asking this question, I know would be the first best person to help lead that opportunity should we need that. So that is you're on my call, Elaine, first one. So there was one other question that was offline before we started, and it was really about the report back out of how we do our fundraising and where people can find that, which is also a great question because this isn't the only way that we talk about it. We do an annual report. So there's both the kind of storytelling and showing the numbers and dollars in a more graphical way, in a more storytelling way, so you can see it in action and understand some of the graphics that I showed. And we do an annual report every year. That's part of that's required as our nonprofit, but it's not as doesn't need to be as robust and as storytelling as we put out there. But you can look at our annual report every year, and that's posted on our website. And you can go back in time and see all of these things that were there. We also, again, as we report out, all of those things with our giving and type of giving will show up in our audit. And you can also, like any nonprofit, you can pull out the 990 and see where those things are coming from as well. So all of that is not hidden. It is just a part of how our organization works, and we're transparent and proud to be able to show it. And individually, if anybody has any questions, we'll go into more detail and do the best we can. We of course always respect our donors' wishes. We never share information about individuals as a whole, but we can certainly share, the broad scope of what, how many individuals are giving, to corporations, that sort of thing, to give a bigger idea of how donations are coming in. And hopefully tonight gave a good example of how donations are going out and how we're stewarding them. It is essential, since I started 5 years ago, and you know, it was already a well run as far as the how folks looked at us, our reputation. But as we grew and as we expanded and took on more challenges and more risk, it was essential that we continue to put that stewardship and that transparency right up front, because the building that trust was just as important as building those houses. Because those other opportunities that have now come to us, uninvited, that have been exciting, is because we've done that. We really have become the premier voice in the county around affordable housing. Uh, we are invited into every discussion. There's not a part of affordable housing that Habitat isn't in some way related to. And I'm very proud of that. And I think that's because of the work we've done to establish ourselves, not just in the building part of it, but in the knowledge base, in the transparency, and in the willingness to be able to step outside of our Habitat brand, and be humble. We have partnerships right now with nonprofits that we work with Church Housing Corps is one, with the Housing Partnership of Chester County, where we're leveraging each other's expertise. They have funding, they have the ability to take houses through conservatorship, and we have the means to be able to build well, and we're their contractors. We have opportunity with Petra, which is another nonprofit, to potentially build some homes, additional homes in lots in Phoenixville, that are working closely with the Phoenixville Borough to be able to build. And multiple sources will have funding for that, and we'll be the contractor. And because those other organizations have the same criteria that we have under the 80% of AMI, and their same sort of similar programs, and will ensure that there's sweat equity and all the things that require to be a Habitat homeowner, if they're a housing partnership homeowner, we're humble enough that it doesn't have to be our family. It's a family served in Chester County in the same way that we do. So any way we can to be able to expand that out, we're proud of, and that has garnered us the attention and the respect and the transparency, to know that we're in it. So it has worked, and has opened the door for us to continue to grow. And as I said earlier, it's just the start. It can't be where we stop. It needs to be so much more so we can really start to address the issue in Chester County and beyond in a really significant way. So unless there are any other questions, I will remind everyone that this recording will be on our website in the next week or so, and that if anybody has any other specific questions, they certainly are invited to reach out to me at any time. The email is chris@hfhcc.org, or any of my staff are willing to help with any questions as well. So thank you all again very much for joining me this evening. Hopefully this was informative, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. All right, everyone, have a great evening.